Jingo trainings now, and we've done our Gemba walks virtually. But it's interviewing again because we want to hear from the folks. It's because you can't, on a Gemba walk observe so many behaviors. So all you can do is kind of talk to them and get a feel. But we ask the people, employees, they go over and say, "Can we talk to him?" And they go over with the phone and say, "How's it going?" It's introduction, and then what's your purpose? Do you know what the company's purpose is? You know what the company's true north is? And now some of them did. That one company did. They were very strong on the culture. They did. The two of the other two, the team members, not a clue. So again, we have to link meaningfully to your employees. And that's what Toyota did so well. Is mutual long-term prosperity. I'm going to go back a slide because I think I want to make sure this purposeful work. I think, we talked around it. And purposeful work is awesome. And what, if you're a hospital or emergency room, if you're making parts that go into the surgery or the heart valve or something, I've been at all these companies, and it's like, that's great. But I don't think it's enough. And it's even bigger gap if we're making a widget. Now we can say, well, the widget goes into the gadget that goes into the heart valve or something. That's great too. So I don't have anything wrong with that exercise, to do that exercise. We did that with our car and the quality car and the safety and for the customer and all that. That's fine. That wasn't enough for me. That would not have motivated me like Toyota motivated me, because it was a car at the end of the day. What motivated me was this growth and development, this long-term success. So they told me, hey, if we succeed, the company grows, you grow, you succeed. It's a mutual long-term prosperity. It's a partnership. So we will keep providing growth opportunity for you because it benefits us and it benefits you. Does that make sense to everybody? That's another nugget I hope you all get from this couple hours. That's like if there's a magic bullet, it's that in this lean culture. Again, this mutual long-term prosperity from a growth and development opportunity. And I learned that, on both ends of it. I learned that as on the receiving end, to motivate me to keep learning, to keep growing. I learned it when I was struggling as a manager, and I realized I was being prideful and trying to do it all myself, and I wasn't growing and developing my assistant managers. And once I started doing that, then they were motivated and inspired. And then guess what? My job got easier because they were helping me. Then I got to where they were doing my job. Then I could go and work with my boss and start learning his job. So philosophically and practically, it's a very helpful principle that I hope you've got in mind. Again, as an individual leader, I want to do that. And then as a organizational leader, I want to provide that opportunity for all my people to grow and develop. And again, that's what I love about the culture discussion, is that I don't care what you're making or what your product or service is. I haven't found a company yet that is not able to do that for their people, to provide that opportunity for growth and development. Thoughts, questions?
Maybe Mike, I can have a question here. I think if you go back one on your slide here about the mutual trust, and I think we're into a position, and we've been working with this quite a long time, and of course our continuous improvement is I think more focused on our people, the growth of our people. Now we've had a management change the last year and a half, and our new boss is asking a little bit more about, well, what's in it for the company? What's in it more for the company? So,
Yeah.
so yes. First of all, I thought that maybe he didn't really understand what we've been doing because he's new in the company. But I think he's challenging us. He wants to expand this. He wants to understand what we can use the continuous improvement to grow our company.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
So
Awesome.
yeah, it was a little bit funny question, because we thought our system was, yeah, was good. We thought our system was doing this, but he's challenged us in a good way to this.
And to make it more explicit. And that's also what I liked about that, that Shingo model with the results, because they made that point in our training. It's like your leaders, you know, they're accountable to results and they
Yep.
want the results, and they're going to focus on those results. So we have to understand where we can get those long-term sustainable results, and then go back and work on that, and sometimes educate them on that. But if we're not getting the results, then there's not much patience, right?
That's right. That's right. I mean, it doesn't all go back to making the money, but he like he says, we're looking for the opportunity to grow, grow in what we're doing, looking for new products, and getting better. And by getting better, we can get bigger.
Awesome. Yeah.
So I think the part about the stability, we've been working a long time on stability, and of course you can't grow unless you have a stable process. So
and now you can grow. Yeah.
yeah.
That's good. I like it. So I like the growth, and then the profitable growth, because I've seen some companies, you know, do the growth and then their profit margin, you know,
Drop.
they double growth and cut their profit margin in half. Well, that we didn't accomplish much there, right? So, so make sure we got profitable growth. And again, that now we're getting into the what, right, with our employees, right? So the highest quality, lowest cost, shortest amount of time. So if we can get those on our results, our operational results, then we can drive those financial results and the growth, the market share. Great question. Again, that keeps us honest, like you said. He's keeping you honest. That keeps us honest in our discussion, because it comes back to that. And that's why I'm really happy Shingo's got that very explicit in the model. Okay, so nothing here else other than, again, the stability, the partnership, the mutual trust, the CI. Now we're getting into the Toyota Way there, right, with the Toyota Way house. Do y'all know the pillars of the Toyota Way? Well, let me first, since Wayne's got me thinking about results and the tools, because we'll do the TPS first. Again, it kind of helps me to know where you guys are. What about the TPS house? That's the tools. That's that process side. What's the two pillars of the TPS? Anybody know? Because I just rattled off some operational things. High quality, low cost, shortest amount of time. That's the Toyota kind of true north on the what we're trying to accomplish, right? They got the, you know. So which comes first? Is there any conflict in your organization between productivity and quality? So which comes first in your organization, quality or productivity? Again, I know the ideal. I know we can all agree on what the poster says. What's the actual? So again, you know, Toyota makes explicit this not the potential conflict, I should say, and this tension between quality and productivity, right? So Jidoka is the built-in quality. Now, on the original Toyota TPS houses, it says most urgent need or something like that. So this is first. It makes it really clear. And then the just-in-time delivery. Right. And the reason I drew this before I drew the Toyota Way one is because we always called them houses. And then I was in a Japan study mission with my son a couple of years ago, and the Japanese guy said, they're not houses. They're the, oh my gosh, I forget the word. The temples have these big archways, the pagodas or something, and the big red things with these two pillars, two columns. And he said, this is the Zen, as you go through, everybody walks through the archway to get the energy. He said, so this tension, kind of the yin yang idea, you know, get this tension is to get the energy in a positive way between quality and productivity. So then the Toyota Way House comes out. I mean, later, I mean, decades later, and they still had the house or the pagoda, whatever. So what are the two pillars of the Toyota Way? Anybody know that? Because again, the culture is built on it. Culture is built on both of them. So CI and respect for people. So we would call this, you know, the business and the people. Do you ever have any tension or potential conflict between running the business and taking care of your people? Well, I ran a plant. I can tell you it was very tension. very, very. I do remember one Japanese, when I got up to HR and had executive role, and he's like, Mike, son, the higher you get, the more pressure there will be on this one, on those results. There'll be more pressure. He said, you must remember as a leader to always take care of your people. Never let that suffer. Yes, you got to get that. And that's, again, the balance and the tension. But don't let that one suffer in order to get this one. We got to invest in this one, nurture this one, like we said, to get that one. So again, just trying to get an alignment on these guiding principles, right, from the Shingo language, because us are what our behaviors should be based on. And Toyota, you know, well, I'm going to do a poll question. So again, I told you that Shingo focused on behaviors. So I'm going to give you another here chat thing. I'm not going to ask you which one of these pillars is the biggest gap or the biggest potential for gap, because I already know it's this one in most organizations. I'll go into a healthcare or nursing home or something, and they'll have this one covered and need this one. But in most manufacturing, if not all, this is the one that's a little bit more challenging or at a deficit. So my question to you is, remember we said we got to get these down to behaviors. So those guiding principles, we have to say, what do the behaviors look like? So I want you all to type in a chat for me, you know, what would a respectful behavior, what would be an example of a behavior that would show respect? Now, Toyota said respect for people. Shingo says respect for every individual, which I kind of like that, because they said, you know, it's everybody. So it's not this concept, but it's each individual person in your organization, the janitor, the president. Are you showing the same respect to both? So what does that look like? What is the behavior? So everybody, you got 8 people, I think, 7. So I should see 8 examples of a behavior. Now, if it's easy for you to do the no good, you know, the disrespect one or the gap, go ahead and put that one in there. But well, ideally, we got a good and okay behavior for respect. What does that look like? Empathy. Now it's okay. So this is my Shingo training. Empathy sounds good, but that's not a behavior, right? So the definition we used, and it was helpful, was I got to be able to videotape it. If it doesn't show up on videotape, then it's not a behavior. So empathy, again, is a great whatever attribute or something. But how do I know if somebody's being empathetic? What would I film? Ask, may I help you? So I like that one from David. So that's a good servant leadership. Now the other Shingo on that, what was this? Cultural enablers. You know, it was a respect for every individual, and then it was lead with humility. So that, how may I help you? That's a great servant leadership question, right? So and I can film you out there at the Gemba asking that question. I like that one. What else we got here? Empathy, no, that's back. Involvement. Again, involvement doesn't help me. What does involvement look like? Again, I'm challenging you like we were last week. And we had the guy from the Shingo Institute sit in on the class, and he kept challenging us. He's like, that's not a behavior, not a behavior. Give me a behavior. What is, if my people are involved, then what would I expect them to, what would I, as I walk through the plant, because that's what they base their Shingo prize on. It's like, so, okay, if I walk through it, you tell me that your people are involved, what will I see when I walk through your plant? Will I see huddle meetings? Will I see people staying after shift, working on problems? Will I see people? What will I see? So anyway, that's the way to think about it. So again, I'm challenging like we were. Ask people how they feel about their job. Well, I'm out there asking questions, and I like the questions. Again, that is a serve with humility, lead with humility behavior. That first of all, are you there? Are you present? And that maybe is, again, it could be a further definition of involved, would be leaders on the plant floor. Again, I can film if you're on the plant floor, if your leader's on the plant floor, I can film it. And then I can film what they're doing. So if they're out there pointing fingers and barking directions, that's a different behavior. We would say not ideal than if they're asking questions and listening, right? So I think that's where that empathy one was coming in. In fact, the Shingo, they had an old video on him. And he said, on Gemba Walk, you should have big eyes, big ears, small mouth. That's what he says. that was good for our behaviors here. Big eyes, big ears, small mouth. Right? When you go out there. What else we got here? Listening. All right. Good. Asking questions. Good, Camille. All right. So hopefully that gives you some idea. Again, it's really important that these things aren't just posters, and that they're meaningful, defined behaviors that we can then do our PDCA on. Because if we defined it like you guys just did, now I can go out and see, are your leaders doing those things? And guess what? There might be some gaps. Then you can come back and look at your systems and say, okay, what do we got to change? Because it's our, again, Toyota taught us that it's our problem if that's not happening. So what are we going to do to adjust the systems to get the behaviors that we're needing? You know, another one of these respectful ones, and I'm going to tell it quick, and I know Wayne's heard this story, but you know, when we were hired as supervisors or managers, we were sent to Japan to work on the line for 30 days. I just had a friend who got hired by a company in Lexington as an executive, and I called the owner and I said, put him on the line for a couple of weeks. I didn't say that. I said Toyota would put him on the line for a couple of weeks, you know, and you can do what you want, but that's how Toyota would train him, right? Just so that he could get in there and have respect for the people and respect for the process. When I was talking to him, he liked the idea. I haven't checked. In fact, I'm talking to the guy this evening, and I'm going to find out if he did that or not. This is his 9th day. Because it said, you know, there's so many benefits that, because it's like you get respect for the people and they respect you because you're out there working alongside them. And then you get some understanding of the process and the CI or the waste and things that are in the process. So that's what they had us do, so that we would understand, you know, build a relationship with some people, understand the standard work, understand the andon. Well, long story short, I was learning my standard work and I scratched one of the cars. Now, what's the ideal behavior there? The ideal behavior is I raise my hand or I pull the andon and I tell them that I made a mistake, right? But my actual thinking, and I had about 30 seconds to do a behavior, because my thinking was, I am not pulling that andon. You know? I'm not telling them I screwed up. I don't think it's that bad of a scratch. Who's going to see that little scratch? Let it go, let it roll. But then my conscience started getting me, and tell people I got worried. I had paranoia that they were filming me. And so I went ahead and pulled the andon, did the right behavior. Maybe not for the right reason, but at least I did the right behavior. And so the team leader came, and then he worked with me, and he showed me that about, you know, I got to brace my air tool on those 3 right next to the fender so that it won't go out and scratch it. So that was his countermeasure. And then they have huddle meetings in the morning and in the afternoon. Again, a behavior that I can videotape. And I can videotape, are they talking about the basketball game from last night, or are they talking about problems and what to do about them in those huddle meetings? But over there, I didn't know because they were speaking Japanese, so they would jabber Japanese. But that afternoon, they said Mike's son, and so I looked up and are you talking to me? And they just kept jabbering Japanese. So I said, well, I guess they're talking about me if they're not talking to me. And later they said scratchy, and I realized what they were talking about. And I can tell you, I got upset at that team leader for that behavior. I could not believe he was ratting me out in front of the whole 25 people, telling him I screwed up. Like, thanks a lot, buddy. Like, that's real respectful behavior. I could not believe it. And I was like, now what are they going to do? And with that, the bells and whistles go off to call everybody back, and they start streaming back to the line, but they're coming right past me, and they're shaking my hand, and they're patting me on the back. I think they're telling me goodbye. So I asked for a translator, and I find out she comes back and says, Mike's son, they're thanking you for telling them you screwed up. They're thanking you for telling them you scratched that car, because that's not easy for people to do. And by you doing that, it didn't get past inspection all the way to the customer. By you doing that, inspection might have found it, but then they would have had to track time and effort back to the root cause. And if they're busy, they might not be able to track that back to root cause, and we might have a repeat. So by you letting them know, they were able to countermeasure it and get no more of them happening. Thank you. That's what they're thanking you, and that's what they were clapping and patting you on the hand about. Oh, how's that for behavior? So now the behavior was different. I'm like, oh, I like that team leader now. He was telling them good stuff about me. So that's the culture, right? So you got to define it as leaders. What do you want? What do you want it to be? And then measure what's actually happening, and then do your problem solving. Because if you got the andon up there and I'm not pulling it and I'm getting defects, then that's not the ideal behavior. So now I got to look what's happening. Do I have group leaders that are emphasizing productivity? I got the different house up, emphasizing productivity over the quality? Maybe. So now I got to look at my group leader training, my group leader system. Oh, the one Shingo example they gave last week was, they said they were giving out bonuses based on productivity. And then they were getting, their quality never got better. Then all of a sudden it got to the point where it was a problem with customers. And I don't know if it was HR or somebody said, well, I think we're, reinforcing and rewarding the wrong thing here. We're rewarding the productivity. Quality's not even in the equation. So they changed their reward and recognition system to include quality first, with some cliff, then productivity. And guess what happened to their quality? It got better results. So that's a kind of a simplistic example, but again, that's an example of how we can do our plan, do, check, act, how we can do our problem solving based on the behaviors we're seeing back to those systems. All right. So that's respect. Like we say, having our thing there, this partnership. Now we've got a couple other principles that are really, really vital on that slide. Stable employment. So that was like constancy of purpose or something. That was big at Toyota. It was like nobody's getting laid off, at least on my watch. It's our ideal, and it's not going to be an actual. We're not going to get a no good on that one. Well, and so Toyota for the most part, the 34 years I've been affiliated with them, have had no layoffs in this country. Now the NUMMI out in California, partnership with General Motors during bankruptcy in 09 and 10, and when the government bailout bought 51%, the government said no more partnership with Toyota. So that plant closed. So that was not ideal. So that was the only time that I understand there's been layoffs in Toyota North America in 34 years. There's been recessions. There's been, 9/11. There's been earthquakes, floods, recall crisis, COVID, no layoffs. People at work, not necessarily building cars, but that stable employment is really vital. We have learned to build the trust with people. So that one's covered. So where is it with you? Do you have a standard? Again, those ideal behaviors go for, everybody in the organization. So what's the ideal behavior for leaders during, a slowdown? Not laying off people. That's the Japanese say that's easy way to deal with that. That's not problem solving. So how can we manage that we can get through the crisis without laying anybody off, with maintaining that trust and relationship? That's a challenge, right? And then what's the role of your employees? So that's the other key thing on this slide down there at the bottom. So what's the ideal behavior of your employees? And if and in the Shingo thing, I would go out there, if I did a Gemba, I would ask your employees, what's their job? It's almost like the purpose discussion, am I laying bricks or am I building the tallest cathedral in the world? You've all heard that story probably. And then the other one is, what is your job? And in a lean organization, the ideal answer is what? Because the actual answer you'll get most times is, well, I put the widget on the gadget on the wadget, right? Fill in your blanks. What is the ideal behavior, what we want to hear back from them? Not just hear, but doing, but you get the point, I hope. What is the role of your employees? So again, it's a very vital, true north question. Is it their job to just do their job, or is it their job to, yes, obviously do their job with good safety, quality, productivity, cost, and improve it? So I hope you have that one on there. And the NUMMI, we're talking about NUMMI and General Motors partnership. I mean, that's what they stable employment. They got that agreement. Nate Ferruta was my HR person, and he said, he was the one who negotiated with the contract with the UAW. He said, we need. I said he tells me he goes into the bargaining table, sits down with the UAW, and I don't know if you all know the story of NUMMI. There was the worst General Motors plant in the country, in the North America. Prostitution, drugs, violence, guns, wildcat strike, bad behaviors. They shut the place down. So Nate goes in and says, well, UAW, we need our people to move wherever we need them, wherever we need them, whenever we need them, for however long we need them. We need that. And why is that important? So we're running out of time. I'm going to go quicker. Flexibility, right? So why is that flexibility important? Well, that flexibility is important so we can go up for demand, market demand, customer demand. But what do you think the UAW said to that when they said, we need people to move whenever we need them, why? They said, no, that's not the way it works. Nate says, it has to work that way for the system to work, for us all to benefit. Remember that mutual benefit slide? And they were like, no. When he said, well, they didn't understand the purpose of it, the benefit. So what is the benefit to the union and to the employees if they are flexible? What if the company can flex to demand, up, down, around? It helps job security. It helps job security. When the union understood that, they agreed. They said, okay, we want job security. We want our dues paid, paying members to be at work. We want the plant to be open. We agree. And he said the rest of it was easy once we got on the same page and we got into that sweet spot back on that slide that we had with the two circles. He said they agreed, so they liked the stable employment, so they agreed to the transfer system. They agreed that everybody's job is to improve their job. That was in the contract. Those key points: job security, flexibility, and everybody owning continuous improvement. Again, because the Toyota value there, and I had a quote on another presentation here last couple of weeks, Toyota Japan HR says the success or decline of our company depends on our HRD. It depends on our ability, our human resource development. It depends on our ability to engage each and every employee in continuous improvement. The success or decline of our company depends on our ability to get everybody engaged in CI. That's a pretty powerful statement. I hope you agree with it. So that's the idea of, again, this True North. So I'm going over time on my True North discussion. But like I said, my purpose is usually the biggest gap. So that's why I'm making sure we're all on the same page. So servant leadership is another, and we already hit that one a little bit, right? With asking what we can do to help, right? That we work for our value add people. They're providing the value to the customer. That process is the value stream that we should be working on. So sometimes people miss that. So Toyota, we're working on the process and the people, right? So that's serving the customer, taking waste out of the process, adding value, respect, development to our people. And doing what? Getting rid of barriers, giving them the tools they need, the equipment they need, the information they need to do their job well. All right, so now we've got the process. And again, this value stream. So are there any silos in your organization? Any silos in Quebec or Norway? I was in Iowa once. They said, we got silos all over the place. Corn. What's wrong with silos? I said, that's not the kind of silos we're talking about. What's an organizational silo? Somebody want to take a crack at that one? Help us. I was at another company. They said, well, our organizational chart's in silos. Were you set up intentionally in silos? I'm like, well, I hope not. I know there's departments. I know there's functions. What makes a department or a function a silo? We don't want them to be silos in our lean. Okay, you guys are not answering questions. It's not helping me go fast.
I think, I would say that if you have a silo, it should be wide and low, and not tall and high. Tall and high
Yeah.
walls. So
it's the walls.
Yeah, it's the size of the walls.
Right.
That's yeah.
There you go. Yeah, we want thin walls or lots of windows or something that allows us to go horizontal across. Because like Wayne said, it's going to be some sort of matrix. You're going to have some functions, right? But you want to be looking and thinking horizontally. And that's what the process is in lean and CI, right? It's horizontal instead of vertical. Because who's at the end of our horizontal, right? Is the customer. Now, again, when we talk about problem solving, we're talking about those tools. I've seen tools in lots of silos. I've seen even value stream mapping of a silo, or problem solving, or standard work, or 5S, or whatever. Good lean tools in a silo is getting us what? Not much. Sometimes we even do so well at it, we sub-optimize. We make it worse. I had a food company said, oh my gosh, we're guilty. We put all the lean into production operations. We were increasing productivity and throughput so much, we actually had to build new warehouses every couple of years. Well, that's not good. Building new warehouses is not helping the customer. And I was like, what KPI, key performance indicator, is driving that behavior? Remember, if we're getting the behaviors that aren't ideal, there's some system behind it. And they said, well, every plant manager knew their promotion or their next raise was based on their output, their cases per month. So they weren't caring about overproduction. They were caring about production. They were caring about cranking it out. because what they were getting rewarded on. So in CI culture, we're caring about who? The customer. And the Japanese would always hold us accountable on that. They're like, this problem you're doing, or this A3, remember the mutually benefit, everybody benefits. How's the customer benefiting? I remember them asking me. And if I can't show it, well, then that's just benefiting your department. That's not problem solving. that's no good, right? You got to benefit everybody across this value stream. So that's really important on this value stream mapping exercise to see, again, it shows the waste, and the wastes are usually in between. The problems are usually in between, because I'll literally have companies, engineering will say it was operations will say it's engineering. And I had one Japanese when I interviewed for the book. They said, why are Americans go like this, crossing their hands? Whose problem? Oh, they're over here, not mine. Which is, again, part of that culture. So that would be a no good behavior, because they want to hear it's our problem, right? If the customer's having a problem, it's our problem. So what are we going to do about it? Not, oh, that's not me, that's them or them. So another good behavior, again, about that is, because a lot of these lean systems are trying to help with that. The true north, getting everybody on the same page, guiding principles. Hosh and Connery will talk about trying to get everybody on this same page, prioritization, daily management even, right? And tiers, having value stream meetings to where we have everybody there. So we can't say, well, that's them. I had one company when I went, I said, what do you do when you have a cross-functional problem? Well, I email them and I let them know about it. How's that working for us? Not so good. But if we got everybody huddled, then we find out whose problem it is. And again, like the slide shows, a lot of times it's nobody's. They're thinking it's them. They're thinking it's them, and it's a gap. There's no standard. So then we can make it a standard and make clear problem. Now do the problem solving. So really, really critical on this horizontal thinking, we call it.
If I just put in another learning that we had also from there, and we see that the higher the walls are between the silos, the less transparent the problems are. So they don't really know it's a problem because other people don't see it.
Exactly. Yeah. Good point, Wayne. That's really a good principle. Make problems visible would be the, well, yeah, you got that on top of that slide. So it's good, really good timing. Make problem visible is the principle there, right? And like Dwayne said, and again, I interviewed another Japanese for the book, and I remember him saying, because I said, one of my questions, well, what were your biggest challenges with us, And I remember him saying, the one guy did the crisscross. The other guy said, we're trying to make problems visible, putting in the tools to bring the problems to the surface. And the Americans are running around, kicking them back under the carpet or something, right? And hiding them. And so the Japanese would say, no problem ID, no problem solving. So the system is meant to expose these problems so that we can, like Wayne said, do something about it now. If nobody's seeing them, or everybody thinks the other person is working on it, obviously nothing's happening. So I like this slide too. I could spend and then the rest of our time on this slide, but I'm not able, I can't. But I love this slide because it pulls together, TPS, again, that toy production system, pulls in that true north of the safety, quality, productivity, cost, and our people, right? So the middle three are the customer. Your customers want the highest quality in the shortest amount of time at the lowest cost. And again, that should be our priority. So I can see that now. Again, when we do Shingo Gemba walks, it's like we look for evidence. So I can look at the scoreboards. I can see if there's evidence of problem solving. The one Gemba walk we had, they had productivity. They had cost and productivity first on their scoreboard. So what is that telling the organization, right? So it was very clear. Safety, we're not building a single car if it's not safe. Safety first, or the line doesn't start. Then remember our Jidoka and our just-in-time. That's the quality and the productivity. So then when we're using the and on to make sure we have good quality. We're not going to pass a defect on to the next customer. So quality, the next customer in the process, or obviously the final customer. Then we're going to hit our delivery goals or commitments, right? So whether we need to work overtime or air shipment or whatever it takes, we're going to meet our customer delivery. Then we'll worry about the cost, right? Because as we improve our safety, our quality, our productivity, the cost will come, and then we can start reducing overtime and that type of thing. So very, very vital. And then our HR or HRD are people. So I don't see a whole lot of people metrics out there. And hopefully we'll have time to talk a little bit about some people metrics here as we go. So all 5 of those, we're trying to, again, those are the results. Those are the operational results that are going to lead to our growth, our margin, our profit, right? So that's what we're driving in operations. Now, how do we use the tools? How do we use standard work, 5S, visual control, and problem solving to help us? So that's to do the Plan, Do, Check Act, which we had, back on those other slides. So catch this, the 4 PDCA questions. The Japanese taught us these, again, simple but not easy. And again, part of your Gemba lock